Since February of this year, many have asked the question why Russia invaded Ukraine in the first place. As we look at this Russian invasion of Ukraine map, most people still don't have an answer. In today's video, I'm going to try and answer that for you and also look into why World War III may be getting ready to kick off. I'll also talk briefly about how the United States is about to get involved in this war. Now, as preppers, we prepare for events just like World War III and for Shtf. The old saying that there are two sides to every story is true, and today we'll look at those and how the eventual outcome may just lead us into World War III and nuclear Armageddon. Now, in my last video, I talked about how the 101st deployed to Romania. I also talked about how something major may happen between Russia and the United States in Ukraine. I also mentioned about how if World War III breaks out, there's going to be plenty of empty shelves and food shortages worldwide. Now make sure that if you haven't seen that video, that you go check it out at the end of this video. I also mentioned that now is not the time to slack off, and that's still ever so true. Now is the time to keep prepping and start prepping if you haven't already. Now let's see exactly what caused all of this with Russia versus Ukraine or Russia vs Ukraine. Now in order to do that, let's look back at 2014 when President Obama was in office and Biden was his vice president. Now Ukraine had just recently democratically elected President Yanukovych in 2010. Now Yanukovych was a pro-Russian president and had served for about 4 years heading into 2014. Now Yanukovych was ousted as Ukraine president in 2014, and many people of Ukraine believe that the United States and Western nations from NATO played a major role in the destabilization of Ukraine and the ouster of President Yanukovych. Now Yanukovych actually stated that his removal from office was a coup, and many people in Ukraine, especially in the Donbass region, still believe that to this day. Now it's certainly not unheard of for the United States to destabilize nations. If we're honest and look at past history, that's what they've done around the world. Now this same administration did the same thing to the Middle East back in 2010, also under Obama and Biden. You probably heard of that, and it was called the Arab Spring. The United States played a major part in the removal and death of the Libyan president and the Egyptian president. Now fast forward to 2015 in Ukraine, shortly after Yanukovych was removed, and the Ukrainian people of the Donbass region held a referendum on whether they wanted to separate from Ukraine. Now the vote of the Ukrainian people of the Donbass reportedly voted by an overwhelmingly 90% to separate from Ukraine and join Russia. However, at the time, Russia and Putin did not formally acknowledge this vote, and they did not formally accept them back into Russia. Now, from that time until now, Ukraine has been a divided country, and in reality, it always has been. You have pro-Russian citizens that align closely with Russia and pro-European citizens that favor the United States and Western initiatives. Not to mention the current Ukraine government is very pro-Western and pro-United States, which is why Biden has been supplying them with so many arms to fight the Russians. Now let me see if I can break this down and make it a little easier for you to understand. Let's look at two key factors that have brought Russia versus Ukraine. First, let's look back to when Russia was the Soviet Union and look at a map to make the picture a little clearer. Now, as you can see, back in the old Soviet Union, Russia controlled much of that territory and had numerous Soviet states. Now fast forward to 2022 and look at how many former Soviet states are now NATO or Western-led states. Do you notice the difference? Now Russia, they have been backed into a corner, and that plays that out, guys, on that map. They have been backed into a corner. So don't get me wrong, I don't support Russia at all. I'm just looking at the true facts of what's went down over these past years. Now, little by little, the United States and NATO and Western philosophy has surrounded Russia. Now, remember back to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan? Look and see just how close those countries are to Russia. Even though both governments of Iraq and Afghanistan have been failures, they have also been pro-US, and they align to much of the Western world. Now let's look at a final example of how this Russia versus Ukraine has come about. Now imagine that whatever city or town that you live in, you have an enemy that lives in that town but across town. And that enemy, your rival, your nemesis, they've been talking to your next door neighbor or to your neighbors down the street. That same enemy has been granted permission to build a home or park their RV on that neighbor's property. So in Russia's case, they went ahead and invaded the neighbor to stop the enemy from coming any closer. Now, to come to that conclusion, I didn't just look at the United States media like CNN, Fox News, CBS, etc. I also looked at other non-Western media as well. Now again, that's just my opinion and my thoughts on why this is all taking place right now. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think will come of all this? Do you think war is on the horizon? Let me know down in the comments. But one thing is for sure, now is the time to keep prepping and start prepping if you haven't already. Because U.S. troop movement is building up big time, not just in Europe, but also in the Pacific theater as well. Now, next month in November, there are going to be massive cooperation drills between America and Japan. Also, both China and Taiwan have also been ramping up their training and combat drills for one another. So guys, something big is brewing all over the world, and you need to be prepared. Alright guys, in the description box of this video, I'm going to leave some links to articles that will show exactly how and why the U.S. military is ramping up their training. No longer are they training like they did when I was in with Iraq and Afghanistan. They're shifting their tactics to face an enemy of equal status. Things are heating up, guys, but that's going to be a wrap for this video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and to share this with family or friends or on social media. It helps spread my message out there, and I do appreciate it. Also, guys, continue to prepare because we know that something big is around the corner. Don't be fooled, guys. We're not trying to spread fear on this channel. We're trying to help you get prepared. So when that day comes, you and your family will be better off, and you can survive these things that are coming on the earth. But again, I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, continue to prepare, and as always, be blessed.